Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Unwoke Thoughts. We've got a lot to talk about. Lots going on today. Big show. It is Monday. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. My weekend was good. It was relaxing. It was chill. But things are ramping up for the election. We are, 25 days away? Something like that? Less than that? I forget. I was looking at I think it was an Instagram story, and there's this lady who is a journalist for she's not really a journalist but she follows around RFK Jr. and she's like in his inner circle. Her name is on Instagram. It's House and Habit, and she posts these updates every single day, like a countdown. She'd be like, it's, this many days till the election. And today, I forgot, what was it, like 22? I saw it. I was like, dang, it's getting really close. Things are happening really quickly. Over the weekend, though, Donald Trump held a rally in Coachella, California, where a man was arrested outside the event with an apparent fake press pass. Yes, this is a very odd situation, guys. According to sheriffs, I guess the sheriff office, the officers, inside his car, they found fake passports and fake driver's licenses, guns, and a high-capacity magazine. Now, the Riverside sheriff initially said that he believes that this was an assassination attempt and that his office prevented this. But it kind of goes a little bit deeper than that. The guy, he was released on $5,000 bail. So that kind of puts a question in your mind. And not only that, but he has come forward with a video completely contradicting the police story on what went down. But I don't know. I really don't know what to believe about this guy. What I do know is that he had access to a lot of high-profile people because he has photos with just about everyone, from Vivek Ramaswamy, Don Jr., even RFK Jr. So we're going to talk about that and see what we can figure out. Bill Clinton was deployed to a black church in Georgia to try and help Kamala's slipping poll numbers that she is experiencing amongst pretty much every demographic. And they really must be getting nervous. First, they send Obama to lecture the brothers about the voter turnout. Remember that last week? Yeah, that was last week. But now they are calling on Bill Clinton to go to churches, which may be actually a little bit dangerous for Bill because there is a real risk of him bursting into flames walking into a church. But these are probably woke churches, so he will most likely be safe, if you think of it that way. Axios is reporting that things are getting a little tense between Biden and Kamala Harris. And as the election gets closer, the Kamala campaign is apparently getting fed up with how Joe Biden is scheduling these press conferences during times where she feels like she should be in the limelight. And also, in some instances, he seems to be contradicting some of what she says in an apparent attempt to undermine her. Kind of like that situation in Florida with Ron DeSantis, where her campaign was going after Ron DeSantis. They had this whole narrative about how Ron DeSantis was not taking her phone calls, and it was all political, all these other things, and he was being difficult. And then Joe Biden comes out, no, Ron DeSantis is actually really good. We're being very cordial. He's doing a great job. And, it does appear that he's undermining Kamala. I don't know if it's intentional. But it is funny. It's like one of those things that you should sit back and just kind of enjoy the show. But in my own humble opinion, Kamala's campaign is only projecting onto Joe Biden her own failures and extreme dislikability. Is it dislikability or unlikability? Either or. But this is a reality that has been reinforced constantly. And most recently, when she visited a black church in Greenville, North Carolina, where she dropped a couple new nonsensical word salad sayings. And watching them, I think you could even draw the opposite conclusion about Joe Biden's, bizarre action of diverting attention from Kamala. Maybe he is actually trying to help her. Because remember, there's a very simple math equation that directly correlates to Kamala's poll numbers. And it goes like this. The more Kamala speaks, the more her poll numbers go down. I believe that's what is called an inverse relationship in the math community. But we'll look at that. We'll see if we can look at that inverse relationship, see if we can find out why her poll numbers are going down when she speaks so much. It's crazy. But we do have some media panic about the current state of the race. Political consultant James Carville says that Trump is attempting to mimic Nazi rallies by holding an event at Madison Square Garden. Yeah. And Kristen Welker from Meet the Press is pretty much a full-blown Kamala Harris campaign surrogate at this point. And this became very obvious during an interview with Speaker Johnson, of all people. Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing watching this. Elon Musk built a tower to catch landing rockets, and they tested it out over the weekend, so we'll check out that and see if it was successful. Chicago's mayor is under fire for blowing a bunch of cash on his wife's office renovations when the city is facing over $1 billion deficit. And finally, Tim Walz. Yes, Tim Walz went pheasant hunting, but I'm not sure he knew what he was doing. Have you guys seen these videos coming out of Tim Walz? He seemed a little out of his element. He didn't appear to know how to load his shotgun, that type of thing. So I don't know. I mean, I get it. He's from Minnesota, so I would assume that, he would know what he was doing when it comes to a shotgun maybe, but you never know. But before we get into the show, leave a like on this video and also comment down below. Let me know what you think of the show. And if you enjoy the show, consider subscribing.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic MyPillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.88. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Yes, guys, go to mypillow.com/unwoke. Use promo code unwoke for the best deals. They still have the pillow for $14.88, the famous pillow, $14.88. You can get that deal only by using promo code unwoke. Everything else, you get up to 80% off in the store. Fantastic promo code. Mike Lindell did me a huge favor by giving me this promo code to pass on to you guys. So make sure you go to mypillow.com/unwoke. or use promo code unwoke. Go do some shopping and go buy some stuff from a fantastic company. But moving on, guys, let's get into it. Donald Trump, he had a great rally in Coachella. This was posted by Donald Trump. Kind of shows you the scale of this rally. Usually we're used to seeing music festivals going on in Coachella. Well, this was Coachella Music Festival Trump Edition. It was huge. It was massive. As you can tell, it was not without controversy. I believe people, they showed up to the parking lots and then they had to be bussed into the actual event itself. And I was watching this video after the event. I guess a lot of the buses just didn't show up afterwards. So there was like thousands of people outside waiting for buses to take them back to the parking lot. And there was only like 1 or 2 buses for thousands of people. So I don't know what was going on with that. But during this event, guys, we're going to try to hash this out because this is kind of a convoluted mess. What is going on? Apparently, there was a third assassination attempt on Donald Trump. But there's a lot of rumors flying about this, and I'm not really entirely sure what to think about this because I've been seeing just every time I open up my phone, get on Twitter, I see a different thing. But let's take a look at this. Let's inspect this, see if we can figure out what's going on here. So this is initially what happened here. Man arrested with multiple guns, questionable credentials outside Trump Coachella rally. Assassination attempt claim in dispute. So the Riverside County Sheriff's Department arrested a man outside the perimeter of former President Donald Trump's California rally. On Sunday, this man was carrying multiple guns, and the local sheriff believes was plotting a third assassination attempt. The man said he was in possession of fake VIP and press passes for the rally. So, first of all, I don't know whether or not he had these fake press passes or fake VIP passes. What I do know is that this guy, because there's only just kind of rudimentary details coming out about this guy, but what you can tell about this guy from his like digital footprint, some pictures and videos that have been shown, he's been able to get very close to a lot of high-profile people in the past. So, for him to have a VIP pass, it doesn't seem like it would be something that would be weird because, I've seen him with pictures with Newt Gingrich, Vivek Ramaswamy, RFK Jr. He's in a video with Don Jr. just walking there. So I wonder what is really going on with this guy. But let's continue reading this. After the sheriff made the claim that a third assassination attempt on Trump had been thwarted, sources close to the Trump campaign said that there had been no attempt made. Sources close to the Trump campaign tell Fox News that there was no assassination attempt against Trump at Coachella. We're told a man with a gun was arrested at the perimeter of the event without incident. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco had said that he believed that the man was planning an attempt on Trump's life. This would have marked the third assassination attempt since July the 13th. The location of the rally was the city of Coachella in Southern California. The arrest took place at a checkpoint at the intersection of Avenue 52 and Celebration Drive in Coachella. The man, later identified as 49-year-old Vin Miller of Las Vegas, was illegally in possession of a shotgun, a loaded handgun, and a high-capacity magazine. He was later arrested and booked at the John J. Benoit Detention Center on suspicion of a loaded firearm and possession of a high-capacity magazine. According to the system, the Riverside County inmate system, Miller was released from the detention center on $5,000 bail. The sheriff's office said the incident was handled without violation of any rally attendee safety. Miller is reportedly a registered Republican and also a member of an anti-government group of sovereign citizens. So why would this sheriff's office say that this was a thwarted assassination attempt? Maybe it was. I personally kind of seen online the little tidbits I've seen. It doesn't seem like it was, and I'll show you a few other things here in a bit, including a video that he released. It was like a 15-minute long video. I'm not gonna play the whole thing, where he talked about the situation. But come on, when you think about it, there is for a sheriff's office to thwart an assassination attempt against Donald Trump, that's high honor. So if you were a sheriff's office, you would want to be able to say, yes, look, you see, in the history books, you see the third assassination attempt against Donald Trump. Well, that's me. I thwarted it. So I can understand why, some of these sheriff's offices would be kind of jump the gun when it comes to these assassination attempts. You got to be careful, but I can see why they would want that narrative that they are the ones that thwarted it. But maybe it is. Maybe he did mean ill will. I don't know. I don't think so. But let's dig a little bit deeper. The sheriff said that his deputies probably prevented Trump assassination attempt number 3. Suspect calls accusation complete BS. So we got, competing narratives here. Chad Bianco held a press conference on Sunday evening to address the arrest of Vin Miller inside the perimeter surrounding Donald Trump's Coachella rally on Saturday. Miller was arrested and found to have questionable credentials, blah, blah, blah. We already read that. Miller said these accusations are complete BS. I'm an artist. I'm the last person that would cause any violence and harm to anybody. There has been a lot of media stir beginning last night with social media and further today about the arrest. So I'm going to play you the video here in a second. But first, let's hear what Sheriff Bianco, what did he have to say about this? Because this was his press conference that he held after the incident. Listen.
Given everything that's happened leading up to in this presidential campaign so far, it's just quite a dramatic statement to make, given what we've seen so far.
A dramatic statement for me to make?
Well, yes. I guess there wasn't any,
So this is what I'm glad of. This is what I am very glad of. I know that the presence that we had at the rally with deputies, with snipers, with counter snipers, and Secret Service snipers and counter snipers, I am glad that we're not talking about this after we shot him. We get to talk about it before, and no matter what, it's all going to be speculation about what his intentions were getting there. What we do know is he showed up with multiple passports with different names, an unregistered vehicle with fake license plate, and loaded firearms. If you're asking me right now, I probably did have deputies that prevented the third assassination attempt. If we are that politically lost, that we have lost sight of common sense and reality and reason, that we can't say that, holy crap, what did he show up with all of that stuff for and loaded guns, and I'm going to be accused of being dramatic. We have a serious problem in this country.
I don't think he's being dramatic. I think, regardless of what Vin Miller's intentions were, what a dumb thing to do. Like, seriously. What an absolute dumb thing to do. Apparently, here, let me show you the pictures that this guy has with some of these high-profile people first, and then we'll get into his explanation, his perspective, his side of the story, because he actually released a whole video, I believe it was on Rumble, where he put it out, explaining his side of the story. But this is Vin Miller here. This is a video here. I believe this was at the RNC, and he is in very close proximity to Don Jr.
So one thing I don't get is that everything at this convention, at the Republican National Convention, is cashless. This whole place is cashless. So I don't know. See, that's the Republican National Convention behind me. Wonderful people, wonderful time.
And then you fast forward here. So look, he's like right by Don Jr. He's got pictures with Jordan Peterson. Look at Vivek Ramaswamy. And I wonder if the Newt Gingrich one is in here. See if I have to. I don't know. For some reason, it's just loading. Last night, I had very high winds where I'm at, and my electricity kept flickering on and off. And then I had internet outage. So hopefully everything works fine. Yeah, this is Riley Gaines, I believe, right? So he has all these pictures with these high profile people. Oh, there it is, Newt Gingrich. So this guy obviously has some sort of, access. I'm not sure. It's just kind of a mystery. I don't know what's really going on with this guy. But you look at it, how can that guy get so close to all these people and be at all these events, get close to Vivek Ramaswamy, Newt Gingrich? I actually have a picture with Newt Gingrich, believe it or not. He guest lectured my history class when I went to University of Texas at Austin, and I got a picture with him afterwards. I should have pulled that up. But I digress. Let's check this out. Let's check out Vin Miller's side of the story. This is him, the so-called third assassin, would-be assassin for Donald Trump. This is him explaining his side. And keep in mind, I do kind of believe him, but I stand by the fact that him bringing guns to a Trump rally is probably the dumbest thing that a person can do, especially at this point, especially after 2 assassination attempts against Donald Trump, to bring guns anywhere near a Trump rally. Bad idea, bro. But this is what he had to say. We'll listen to part of this, not the whole thing, 17 minutes and 50 seconds long. Listen.
And probably the reason that God put me in that situation, in order to be able to expose really what's going on. And so every time I've gone to a Nevada rally and notified the police, it's been a non-issue. They've thanked me for the courtesy of notifying them. They've said, obviously, you can't take your firearms. I wouldn't even think of doing such a stupid thing. And they've been fine. They've been fine. And the critical mistake I made is, I guess, forgetting the location that I was in California. So I drive up with my special entry pass. And by the way, they're saying I had a counterfeit pass. That's a bunch of nonsense. I could prove that I had a special entry pass directed to me, sent directly to me.
And like when I see all these pictures he has with all these high profile, GOP Republican types, I kind of believe him, because to be able to access that many people, get pictures with all these people, I feel like you would have to have some sort of special entry somewhere, wouldn't you? Maybe I'm naive, but I don't know. He sounds like he's telling the truth.
By officials within the Republican Party of Nevada. I was an actual invitee to that event. So as I'm driving, there's an area where you enter the parking lot after you pass a sheriff. I pull up to the sheriff. I say, I should take that back. I'm not 100% sure he was a sheriff. He was wearing a sheriff vest, but a lot of those individuals were. And my assumption is that not everybody there was a sheriff. They were just trying to indicate that they worked with the sheriff's department. And so I drive up to this sheriff and I tell him that, in full transparency, I just want to let you know, in the back of my truck, I got, 2 lawful firearms, purchased lawfully, registered lawfully. And I'm just letting you know that that's back there as a courtesy, which is a courtesy that I always do.
So I guess, if we were to see the body cam footage and we have this guy actually doing this, to me, that gives him a lot more credibility. If he is pulling up to a cop, the sheriff, sheriff's office, whatever, the members of the police force there or security, and he's telling them that he has guns in his car, that gives him a lot more credibility. If there's actually video of that happening, I think that kind of would clear him. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that good for you for doing that. But bro, are you kidding me? Why? It just blows my mind that he thought that would be a good idea in any scenario. Maybe it is his right or whatever. But still, in a heightened security environment like that, this close to the election, tensions are really high. It's already happened twice against Donald Trump. These cops aren't playing games. Secret Service is not playing games. You're not just going to let somebody within anywhere near a rally with that kind of stuff in their car. What is a little bit odd is if he actually did have fake passports and driver's licenses in his car. That's what I think is kind of odd. Why would you have that kind of stuff in your car? That does sound like a intelligence operation type situation, but why would he tell the cops that he has guns in his car if he was going to try to get close to Trump? That just doesn't make sense to me. Let's listen a little more.
That police officer asks me to pull over. So I pull over, and just so everybody's clear out there, it's not like they found that I had firearms or did an investigation, blah, blah, blah. No, the body cams and the evidence will expose and reveal that I myself drove up to the sheriff and gave him the common courtesy and respect of letting him know about the firearms I had in the back of my truck. At this point, they make me pull over. A police officer comes to my window. And what I have to say about this particular moment is that knowing how some police officers behave, and I'm indicating that they behave in a fashion where they seem to not understand the laws and the Constitution, I'm usually more armed and alert. But when I was arriving there, I wasn't feeling well. I have certain health demands, I guess you could say, that require me to regulate my blood sugar level and also require me to have basically my water bottle, which I'll put a couple of different supplements in there that whenever I'm having issues and I feel like my blood sugar is all over the place, I drink some of that stuff and it helps me to regulate it, right? At this moment, I certainly wasn't feeling great. I wasn't at my sharpest. And when this police officer came to my window, I rolled the window down and he asked me to get out of my car. I got out of my car. He asked me to turn around, put my hands behind my back, which is what I did. He handcuffed me at that juncture. I said, "Why are you handcuffing me?" He said he's doing it for his own protection, which, we could talk about that topic as well, because I don't know ever in the history of humankind where there's been an individual like me that's rolled up and said, "I have 2 firearms in my trunk," clearly indicating that I'm not there to.
So, he makes some good points, but at the same time, he might be the dumbest individual of all time to bring guns in the first place. Dude, are you kidding me? Legal or not, that is such a dumb thing to do. But if we, I guess if we see those body cameras, it would vindicate him, I guess, to some degree. I just can't see someone, like he says, wanting to do harm at a Trump rally and then telling the police that he had guns. Doesn't make sense to me, but I don't know. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Speaking of crazy stuff, Bill Clinton, yes, he was deployed to a black church in Georgia. This is Mount Zion Baptist Church in Albany. There to stump for Kamala. As you can tell, he's not bursting into flames, which is very odd. So this must be a woke church, because we all know woke churches. Can you really call them churches? But the best part, this was after. This must have been after. This must have been like after service food, or maybe somewhere during his visit. He got mistaken for Joe Biden. He goes to this McDonald's. He walks up to the counter, and the cashier calls him Joe. So things are not looking good for Bill Clinton. That's pretty bad. Listen. Are you Joe? Are you Joe? Oh no, not Joe. So not Joe Biden, the other creepy old man, Bill Clinton. But speaking of Biden, Axios is talking about Joe Biden, about these tensions that are rising between Harris and Biden, their teams, as the election gets near. And they talk about how Biden seems to be undermining Kamala Harris in a lot of ways. She's going out. She's trying to, I think she went to Georgia at one point. Was it Georgia? I believe it was Georgia. And right when she was supposed to be live and, be looking like a leader that was swooping in to save all the victims, Joe Biden walks into the press briefing room for the first time in 3.5 years, I guess, And all of a sudden, all the cameras, all the networks switched to Joe Biden when Kamala Harris was supposed to have her moment. And then, of course, there was that moment where Governor Ron DeSantis and her were having a little kerfluffle, apparently, reportedly, where Ron DeSantis was apparently ignoring her calls, wouldn't take her calls. And, I mean, that kind of turned out to be a nothing burger because Ron DeSantis said, I never got a call from Kamala Harris, or I don't remember receiving a call from Kamala Harris. And then Joe Biden contradicted her, it seems, saying that, no, me and Ron DeSantis are working together. He's doing a great job. So is he undermining Kamala Harris? Does he hate Kamala Harris? I mean, I wouldn't blame him. But Axios reports the relationship between Kamala Harris's team and Joe Biden's White House has been increasingly fraught in the final weeks before Election Day. 10 people familiar with the situation tell Axios. Biden's team wants Harris to win the election, but many senior Biden aides remain wounded by the president being pushed out of his re-election bid and are still adjusting to being in a supporting role on the campaign trail. They're too much in their feelings, one close to Harris ally said of the president's team. A sentiment shared by even some White House aides. Some on the Harris team said that top White House aides aren't sufficiently coordinating Biden's messaging and schedule to align with what's best for the vice president's campaign. To give examples here, Biden gave an impromptu press conference in the White House briefing room Friday, just as Harris was about to do an event in Michigan, ensuring that her event would get less TV coverage than it otherwise would have. Earlier this week, Harris criticized Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for not taking her call about the recent hurricanes, only for Biden to praise DeSantis soon after for being gracious and cooperative. A person familiar with the situation told Axios that Biden hadn't been briefed on Harris's comments. So wait, you're telling me if Biden had been briefed on Harris's comments that he would have said something completely different? You see what a game politics is? It's so ridiculous. Oh, Biden only said that Ron DeSantis was being gracious and cooperative because he didn't hear the lies that were coming out of Kamala's mouth. Then he would have totally been on board with the lies coming out of Kamala's mouth. He would have said something completely different. I mean, I don't think it's a surprise anyone. Politics are just a game of lies, but it's kind of funny that they just say it like that. A person familiar with the situation said that Biden hadn't been briefed on Harris's comments, insinuating that if he had been, he would have said something different. What about the truth? How about he just tells the truth? Crazy. Biden has been eager to boast about a robust jobs report helping to end the strike by the Longshoremen's Union and other perceived victories recently. Wasn't it Ron DeSantis that helped end that strike? He said that he was going to send Florida National Guard to man some of these stations until the strike played out. And then it ended not too long after. But goes on to say Harris has been trying to focus on voters' pocketbook concerns, including inflation. One person involved with Harris' campaign told Axios the White House is lacking someone in the room thinking first and foremost about how things would affect the campaign. The tensions have played out on the staff level, too. Harris's team has been trying to add staff to the vice president's official office to handle the bigger workload. It's been frustrated at the White House's pace in getting people detailed for that, according to two people familiar with the matter. The White House has been working to help Harris's team, but has been frustrated by some of the rules about who can be detailed and when. Biden aides have joined Harris's campaign, but some feel like they've been labeled as disloyal by Biden's team for leaving or even considering it. The White House official told Axios, everyone from the president on down knows how important the election is, and we always anticipated a number of staff would want to transition from the administration to the campaign for the final stretch. There's also awkwardness between some of who were on Biden's original campaign staff and Harris allies who've been installed in recent weeks. In the weeks after Harris became the Democratic nominee, there were squabbles about whether Biden's main surrogates on television would continue in those roles or if new faces would emerge. Harris's team prevailed, and new surrogates began appearing frequently. So it does appear like the campaign's in a little bit of a disarray. Which, I don't blame Biden. He knows how it works. He knows how the process works in America. And for him to be just ousted after receiving 14 million primary votes and replaced by a low IQ woman who cackles and who just like I said, every time she has any sort of interaction, human or otherwise, she just seems incredibly uncomfortable. She tries to connect with voters and she does all these things that just appear completely scripted. I get it. Politics, is mostly a bunch of politicians who are trying to connect with different, demographics and ways of life. And so they're trying to, they act. It's an act. It's like a bunch of actors. But Kamala may be the worst actor of all. She's terrible at it. So we've got problems. We got problems brewing in the Kamala campaign, which just means good news for Donald Trump. And some of these problems are going on in North Carolina, where Kamala was. She attended a black church where she spoke.
Because what we see is so hard to see that we lose faith or a vision of those things we cannot see but must know. Because what we see.
So, yes, this is Kamala Harris in North Carolina at Koinonia Christian Center in Greenville, North Carolina, where she says, what we see is so hard to see that we lose faith or a vision of those things we cannot see, but must know. Not sure what that means, but it sounds a lot like her significance of the passage of time saying. She also had this little glorious tidbit here. Is this the same one? Hold on a second. I had two of them.
Morning. Joy cometh in the morning. Joy.
So imagine hearing that first thing in the morning. Glorious. So she was in Greenville, North Carolina, where she was addressing the church, trying to grift on that Christian vote, of course. But there are a lot of media consultants, media just in general, that are kind of panicking over this. You can kind of see it slowly setting in, that things are not looking good for Kamala. No matter how much they propagandize the American people. And they're starting to get a little bit desperate. Their rhetoric is starting to get even worse. They toned it down a tiny bit. They cranked it down a little bit. I mean, for the most part, whenever these assassination attempts started, they toned it down a little bit. They tried to use words instead of like threat to democracy as much. Remember, they called J.D. Vance and Trump weird, They tried to use different terms. Well, now they're back up to essentially calling Donald Trump a Nazi. Here's political consultant James Carville. He says that Donald Trump is trying to mimic Nazi rallies by holding a rally in Madison Square Garden. Listen.
I did not realize when I said that he would actually go on television and say, I'm going to use the military to round up my political enemies. When I said that, General Flynn, who's going to be very senior in this administration, didn't say that the gates of hell will rain on my political enemies. When I said that, I didn't know that he was going to schedule a rally in Madison Square Garden to mimic the Nazi rally of 10 February 1939. So we have They're telling you. And by the way, if they win, they're going to correctly say, we told you in the election what we were going to do, and you voted for us. You have green-lighted the whole thing.
Heck yeah. You have green light. Yeah, watch out, James Carville. That's right. So, yeah, you know, it's like, come on, guys. Nazi rally. I mean, Donald Trump books Madison Square Garden, and now he's being compared to Hitler again. Crazy. But probably the craziest exchange I've seen this whole week is this one. And this lady, hearing her talk to Speaker Johnson. Now, I'm no Speaker Johnson fan. You guys know this. Not a fan of old Mike Johnson. But hearing Kristen Welker, this lady, talk to Mike Johnson, it's actually mind-blowing. It's one of the craziest things I've seen. Kristen Welker is now just a full-blown campaign consultant for Kamala Harris. And it's obvious. Watch this.
Kamala Harris's numbers are dropping in the polls, and she just said in her own words, you saw the tape there, there is no difference between her and Joe Biden. The Biden policies, Bidenomics, all the things they champion are destroying the country, and everybody knows that, and that's why Donald Trump is elected. Republicans are going to win the Senate and the House.
Mr. Speaker, we should note that FEMA funds were actually redirected on Donald Trump's watch to deal with the migrant issue. Let me ask you, you mentioned...
See, okay. I've pointed this out before. You see the tactics that these fake news media hosts use? They do this little thing where they fact check and then like hurry up to the next question. They'll do these fact checks. Well, Speaker Johnson, that's actually not true. But anyways, moving on to the next thing. I mean, listen, she probably does it just like more than anyone I've seen. And it's so disgusting. It makes my skin crawl how they do that. They're like, well, they're like, well, you're actually a liar. But anyways, let's move on to the next question while I just completely refuse to let you talk. And she tries. Now, Mike Johnson, you know, he's probably been in situations like these before. So, you know, he pushes back and he gets his 2 cents in. But I mean, just watching her, it's like, how are these people? Are these even people? Well, she's like a psychopath. Let me rewind this so you can see what I mean. Right when Speaker Johnson ends, she tries to fact check him and then hurry up to the next question. Why?
Redirected on Donald Trump's watch to deal with the migrant issue.
That's why Donald Trump should note elected. Republicans are going to win the Senate and the House.
Mr. Speaker, we should note that FEMA funds were actually redirected on Donald Trump's watch to deal with the migrant issue. Let me ask you, you mentioned the medical records.
No, ma'am. No, wait a minute. No,
it's also so crazy, like her tone of voice. It's like so matter of fact. It's like, oh, everyone. Oh, by the way, I'm sure you just made a simple mistake, Speaker Johnson. Everyone knows that this is actually what's going on. It's so crazy. It's the tactics they use. This is why I absolutely despise the corporate press so much. It's all fake. It's all fake. It's all an act. It's all trying to push some sort of narrative, some sort of agenda. And they use these crazy tactics that just like they try to glitch people out. Oh, well, she must really know what she's talking about, but because she's saying it in such a matter-of-fact way. And she's staring really deadpan into the camera and talking with this authoritative tone of voice. She must really know what she's talking about. It's crazy.
Hold on, wait a minute. Wait, facts are important. That is a new program that started in 20.
And you see, like you can see her in her eye. She knows she's doing it. You look at these people. They know what they are doing. I don't know if they have some sort of earpiece in the ear. Most likely they have their earpiece in the ear. Or someone whispered, hey, you gotta tell X, Y, you gotta say X, Y, and Z. And then they say X, Y, and Z. But she knows. She knows she's a dirty, low-down liar right here. She gets this little kind of like, smirk on her face as Mike Johnson challenges her. It's like, okay, I get it. This is a game. It's such a dirty game.
20 under Joe Biden. That funding wasn't necessary under Trump's administration because we secured the border. We didn't invite illegal aliens and dangerous people into the country. That's a Biden-Harris policy, and everybody knows it.
Mr. Speaker, it did happen under Donald Trump's watch, but let me just ask you about medical records since
No, we didn't. No, Chris.
And then she does it again. Like, what is she? How much money is she getting paid? How much of that $600 million is she getting paid from the Kamala Harris campaign? That money goes everywhere.
Should Donald
we
Trump
did not.
release
That
all
is
of
a
his medical
brand
records?
New account.
Should Donald Trump release all of his medical records?
He
Mr.
has.
Speaker?
He issued the records of his physicians. Kamala Harris issued her medical records as a diversion because she's desperate because she's sinking in the polls. Donald Trump's health is on display. Everyone in America can see it. The man works nonstop. He never quits. He probably sleeps 4 hours a night. He doesn't require as much sleep as the average person. He's an unusual figure. And this is the strength that we need in a time like this. We're in the most dangerous moment since World War II. You have to have strength. You have to have a steady hand. You have to have a commander-in-chief that our allies respect and our enemies fear. They do not fear Kamala Harris. They do fear Donald Trump.
Mr. Speaker,
that's what people are going to vote on.
Just be very clear. He hasn't released all of his medical records. He released 2 letters. Should he release the results of the cognitive test?
It's unnecessary. He's on display every minute.
So it's unnecessary. You concede that he didn't release his medical records. You don't want to know things like his cholesterol level, whether he's dealing with any issue that we may not know about, if he's going to be commander-in-chief. And he also said he would release cognitive tests.
Listen to your question.
Should he release that?
The American people, Kristen, the American people don't care about the cholesterol level of Donald Trump. They care about the cost of living and the fact they cannot pay for groceries because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's policies have put them in that situation. The medical records are irrelevant. Let's talk about things that the American people care about. That's why Donald Trump is surging in the polls, because he's doing that on stages, in interviews, nonstop around the clock, and Kamala Harris has done nothing. Every time she talks, her numbers go down because she is uniquely unqualified to be the commander.
Yes, that's correct. It's that odd inverse relationship situation we were talking about earlier. The more she talks, the lower her numbers drop. And you guys hear like how Kristen Welker, she's constantly trying to like, insert something in there. She goes as Speaker Johnson is talking. She can't help herself. It's like, you're supposed to be interviewing here. Like, all she's trying to do is like argue. She's supposed to interview. I get it. You should challenge, if you're an interviewer like this, you should challenge people. But I don't think the best way to challenge somebody is to, oh, by the way, that's just not true, and then go on to the next question. That turns it into something a little bit more dirty than just an interview where an interviewer is challenging the person that they're interviewing. Because obviously politicians have agendas. You should be challenged on your agendas, but let them respond. And why don't you do this to, say, maybe Kamala Harris surrogates? Why? Because Kristen Welker is effectively a Kamala Harris surrogate. But Kamala Harris surrogates haven't really been doing too good. We've seen them all over TV. And they have kind of an uphill battle right now because Kamala hasn't been doing too great. They don't have a whole lot of facts to go off of that would really help their case when arguing in favor of Kamala Harris. And one of these was when she was asked if she would do anything differently than Joe Biden. She flat out came out and said, no, she wouldn't. Nothing that she could think of. And this surrogate, this is really funny. This is on ABC. This surrogate is asked how Kamala Harris would be different than Joe Biden. And what he said, once again, I talked about this when Kamala Harris was answering this question. I said, technically what they're saying is true. It's technically true. But still a terrible answer. He says she'll be different because because we are all different individuals. So it's like, just to clarify for anyone, Kamala Harris is not the same individual as Joe Biden. It's like, I don't think that's the question here, buddy. But listen.
Do you think she will be different than Joe Biden? What do you think the difference is? She struggled on The View to say anything about anything different, that she would be different.
Well, of course she'll be different because we are all different individuals. But just look at the
policy-wise.
They're right there. Right, but President Biden's plans were about building a future economy that is happening right now. We're building the 2 biggest battery plants on planet Earth in Kentucky. We built the cleanest, greenest recycled paper mill the world's ever seen. Those are all through his policies. But hers are about right now. How do we help the American people that are struggling to pay the bills?
Do you think she will be different?
So, yes, they got the work cut out for them. And I think they're starting to realize what's going on here. They're starting to see the writing on the wall. It is starting to look good for Donald Trump. I'm not going to lie. It is starting to look really, really good. However, we have to realize that there is a shadow campaign going on. Everyone knows it. Everyone sees it. We saw it in 2020, and it's probably been in all the elections. I don't even know. So we got to stay on it. Reince Priebus, he went on ABC and he told this panel just how bad Kamala is bombing. They don't look too happy about this. Watch.
I mean, the reality is that for the first time in 32 years in this poll, it shows that Republicans are beating Democrats straight up. When you ask people a generic ballot in 32 years, it shows that Donald Trump's doing better with black voters, Hispanic voters, off the charts. But what the most important thing is, what happened last week is that what was working with female voters with Kamala Harris was that there was some feeling of joy in the air. Well, that joy is gone. She had a terrible week. She picked a pointless fight with Ron DeSantis. She was losing in the Sun Belt, and she tried to recover by going on The View, which a lot of women watch. She went on The View. You talked about it earlier, and she wanted to clarify the 2 most important issues that are facing these 2 candidates: the economy and immigration. And she bombed like Rory at the U.S. Open, and she went out there and said there was nothing she would do that would be different than Joe Biden. And she created a campaign commercial for Donald Trump. And so she's trying to recover. There is no joy in the air. And everybody knows it. And it's obvious that there is.
And then they interject. Yeah, well, Trump also created some campaign videos. It's like, no, every time Kamala goes out, because I see this stuff on Twitter. Every time she speaks, she creates another campaign video for Donald Trump. And when we say, and some of them he actually does use as campaign ads, but it's just become a meme now. Every time she comes out, she talks, she says something that like helps Trump's case. It's like every time she opens her mouth is disastrous. So I don't know how the Kamala campaign, intends on overcoming that hurdle. It's pretty crazy. They're trying to call in the big guns like Obama, Bill Clinton. Obama was lecturing, the brothers about how they're not turning out the vote like they did during his campaign. And then Bill Clinton is, doing whatever Bill Clinton does. He's just, high profile Democrat. So, Obama and Clinton, two guys that are actually, for as evil as they are, they're actually well liked. Kamala, she just doesn't have that. She doesn't have that X factor. In fact, she has like the inverse of the X factor. She has just kind of the repulse factor. People are kind of repulsed by her. But moving on to something a little bit more cool, guys. Elon Musk. We're going to talk about Elon Musk really quick. He had some exciting stuff going on. Elon Musk built a tower to catch landing rockets. They tested this over the weekend, and the test was a success. Check this out.
Landing burn has been ignited. We're now down to 3 Raptor engines. We can see those chopsticks now in the air.
That's wild. So a rocket landing, that tower, it has these little arms that come out.
Monica Villa had caught the booster.
So yeah, it has these little arms that come out, and the rocket lands. And this is Elon Musk talking about this contraption. He calls it the Mechazilla. Elon Musk explains how SpaceX's Mechazilla can catch the super heavy boosters. This is him talking about it. Watch.
Flying object ever made. It's a custom-built tower with arms that'll...
So those things right above his head, I guess that's where the rocket kind of slips into. Slips between those two structures right there. I think they call them chopsticks.
That is designed to catch the largest and heaviest flying object ever made and pluck it out of the air. I mean, that's the theory anyway. So...
Elon just said, delete the legs, delete. We're like, well, what is he like? You just use the arms, and then you said it again. And we go, wow, he's serious. Okay, we better get on this. And now it seems normal. Or
it'll weigh about 250 tons. We'll make that lighter over time. So you got cool it a couple hundred tons, plummeting at more than half the speed of sound. So this thing is still coming in really fast.
Yeah.
Pretty much down in a downward direction. So then they light the engines. So it's got to slow itself down very fast and correct any error. So like whatever the XY error is when the engines land, it's got to take out that XY error and then drop the velocity to basically zero. Come in between the arms. The arms will be wide, and as it's coming in, the arms will close, go flush against the side of the vehicle, and the vehicle will be descending through the arms. And those tiny little, you can barely see them, the little knobs, those kind of lifting lugs will touch the top of the arms, and then it will hopefully not shear off and crumple. Success is one of the possible outcomes.
So... I mean, come on. That's just wild. This guy is just, I mean, you see this rocket coming in. That's exactly what happened. Was it 250 tons? Is that what he said the rocket was? The booster, whatever it is. Slips right in between those arms. And there it is. So Elon Musk, he's had a very busy week. He's landing rockets, catching rockets out of midair with his rocket catching tower. He introduced 2 new Teslas, both of which are driverless. They have no steering wheels. He introduced robots, androids, basically a robot housemaid. He did a interview with Tucker Carlson, where he said that the higher up elites were afraid that Donald Trump would be elected and then release the Epstein list. And, of course, lands these rockets. Pretty impressive. I'm glad we have Elon Musk on our side. That's all I got to say. Moving on really quickly, the Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson, is under fire after spending more than $80,000 of taxpayer funds to renovate his wife's office while the city faces $1 billion budget deficit. Listen.
NBC5 Investigates has uncovered records showing that the city spent $80,000 renovating a single office to be used by Mayor Johnson's wife, the First Lady of Chicago.
The receipts show that city workers did much of the labor and billed the city for that work. Here's NBC5 Investigates' Bennett Haberly with the story. Bennett.
Yeah, Alex and Allison, these renovation or redecorating costs, well, the mayor says won't bankrupt the city, come at a time when Chicago is facing a huge financial hole and weighing all options, including potential layoffs, to make up for this deficit. Chicago's financial challenges raise questions about why the city spent more than $80,000 renovating this office in the Cultural Center for First Lady Stacey Johnson. Invoices obtained by NBC5 Investigates show the work began in room 306 as early as February and continued through August, with city workers, including painters, carpenters, and electricians, clocking more than 350 hours of time, billing the city for more than $25,000 in labor costs. Invoices also show more than $11,000 went to a vendor to replace tile and carpeting. Another invoice shows more than $43,000 was spent on furniture alone. We uncovered these records through a series of public records requests that we filed weeks ago. We told the mayor's office we had questions about this on Tuesday, giving them more than 24 hours to prepare for these questions. I'm wondering if you could help define what is the role of the First Lady in your administration, and how do we justify spending upwards of $80,000 to redecorate an office for her and staff in our current financial situation?
So the Cultural Center has always been a location for dignitaries. Every First Lady has had office space.
All right. He seems pretty guilty. He's like, well, this cultural center has always seen dignitaries, and, you know, the $80,000 was, we needed it for, you know, just because it's got to be nice for, you know, this and that. Wow.
Had office space, you know, there. Renovations for my office or any other office is standard procedure.
Is there any concern about optics of spending $4,000 on a desk or $4,000 in club chairs at a time when the city is in this sort of budget hole?
Yeah, a desk is not going to, the purchase of a desk is not going to change the financial structural damage that has been in place for a very long time.
Yeah, that's the mindset that a lot of these politicians go into their term at. They're like, well, the last administration did it. I'm going to do it too. I'm going to get mine. I'm going to get the bag. You know, I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to take what I want, because that's just how things go. But I love watching politicians squirm, and he was squirming there. He didn't really know how to, you know, talk in circles enough to make it look like or seem like it's okay for him to spend $80,000 on an office renovation for his wife. Well, the city is in a little bit of a debt situation. Last one we're going to talk about, guys, really quickly, is Tim Walz. Yes. Do you guys think that Tim Walz knows how to pheasant hunt or hunt? Do you think this is his first time pheasant hunting? Now, I've been pheasant hunting before. I think twice in my life. I don't know. Let's just check this out. See if we can figure it out.
Nice shot. Oh, you got that. That was a good shot. And
I don't think he got anything.
They are shaking like crazy, Scott. He's on to something. Rooster! Nope, don't shoot. They came up behind you. That happens. A couple years ago, I got a double when we first started. Went right up my leg, like it was hitting my leg as it went up. No, pin in. Pin. That's why it's hunting, not shooting, right? You knew it, didn't you, man? And I'm gonna grab a Diet Mountain Dew if we got one. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna pound one down.
And it got up off my shoulder.
That's Tony. That's the governor, right? Isn't that Tony Evers? I believe that is. The guy on his left.
You said, no. That's what you said.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think it is.
I was like, yeah, but can you shoot?
Yeah, that's right. You better shoot if we get one up, you guys.
It was fun. Then you got to get out.
It was fun. That's what I said. There's good days and there's great days.
There's good days and there's great days in pheasant hunting. So that's Tim Walz. Also, last one I'll play is this video right here. I'm just going to leave this here, guys. This is Tim Walz attempting to load a shotgun.
And it never fits quite right.
Never fits quite right. It's not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap
Bro, what are you doing, man?
Thing I kick off so when you get old, it doesn't hurt your shoulder as much.
And it never fits quite right.
Never fits quite right. It's not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
Yeah, what is he trying to do here? I mean, with a shotgun like that, you just push the shells in. I don't know, but guys, what do you think? Tim Walz, is he a pro hunter or is he a fake hunter? But how's it going, guys? Let's get to the chat. What are you guys up to? Let's see. Anthony Labunsky says it's got a tampon stuck in it. Yeah, he had to fish that out. He had to. Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. Cowboy says he's probably trying to put the shell in backwards. Yeah, there's something going on. Hey, we got Pete in the chat, one of my great members. He says, I love all of the brand new right off the rack gear. I know, right? I mean, that's not hunting clothes that has been sitting in his closet for a while. That looks pretty bright. We got Christy in the chat hanging out. Michelle C. Ooh, shots fired. Yes, I have seen those allegations of Tim Walz liking to hunt for young boys. I've seen those allegations all over Twitter. It's pretty wild. Mama Bear's in the chat. Never fits quite right. We got Jeremy Brummer in the chat hanging out. We got a super chat from Tijuana, the border jumper. Good morning. My day's off and I'll be in Tijuana for 3 days, but I'm still watching. Let's go. Tijuana border jumper, the man. He is across the border for 3 days in Tijuana. Hey, have some delicious Mexican food for me. Big fan of Mexican food. One of my favorite types of food, Mexican food, believe it or not. I live in Michigan now, so I don't really get great Mexican food very much around where I'm at. But when I was in Texas, I got some good stuff. It was pretty good. We got Bill Phillips in the chat. Hey, Bill, how's it going? Thanks for watching. We got Southern Sass. We got Queen Bee in the chat doing some modding. Hey, Queen Bee, thanks for hanging out. We got We Need Peace and Betsy Paint, some of my great members. Thank you guys for watching today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. Be productive. Get some stuff done. I'm going to try to get some stuff done and be productive as well. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys had a fantastic stream, or I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. If you could please, before we get off the stream, you could leave a like on the video. And also, if you'd like to support my work, down below, I have my links. Check that out. But have a fantastic rest of your day. We'll talk to you guys on the next one. God bless.